Not sure how to go about replacing a bushing in a clock plate without an expensive bushing tool? In this video I will show you how to do it manually using a reamer and a pin vise. Broaching using a reamer and a pin vise is quite similar to the way we did bushing using a machine. It's only the cutting and setting the bushing into the plate that is actually different. All the rest is pretty much the same. So we're starting off using the first wheel on the strike side. That's where it sits there. So the first thing we do is measure the pivot, and there it is, 1.37 millimeters. Jot that down on our notepad. 1.37. Now over to our box of bushings. We're looking for 1.37. Number 46 is 1.30. Number 47 is 1.40. So that's obviously too large. We'll take out a number 46 and test it and see if it's the right size. Put it in our hand. Either way up doesn't matter. Oil sink or not. And try to insert the pivot into it, and it doesn't, so that's the size we need. We'll put that aside, put our bushings away, but before we do we'll check number 46. Maximum diameter is 3 millimeters, so I'll write that down here. 3 millimeters, and it's number 46. It's always good to write down your measurements, that way it saves you remembering them all, and if you're doing 10 or a dozen bushings on a plate, pretty easy to forget them. Alright, so our final reamer is 3 mil, so we'll start off with a smaller one. That's 1.97. We'll put that into the pin vise. Pretty decent sized jaws on this one. A little bit wider, there we go. That's got him. The reason we need a larger pin vise, you can see the difference in size. That rod there fits into a pin vise like that. It would just fall out of that size pin vise, and that size reamer wouldn't fit in there anyway. Right, I'll put that back. Now we'll put a tiny little black mark beside the hole we're working on so we don't get confused and start reaming at another hole. So this is the same as before. Reamer into the hole and align the reamer 90 degrees perpendicular all the way round. And then we start with a little bit of light pressure on the reamer, pushing into the plate. Turning the plate round as we do it, so we can see that we're at 90 degrees all the way round. We just keep pushing the reamer into the plate and turning it round. It's a slow process, a lot slower than using a bushing machine. At the same time, we don't want to push too hard, or we'll turn the reamer into a corkscrew. And they're $50 odd each, so we don't want that to happen particularly. Alright, that's our first reamer done. We'll take that out, put the second size in, make sure it's centered, take up the plate again, That's our hole there with the black spot beside it. Align the reamer 90 degrees to the plate and start turning. You can turn it in either direction. It doesn't matter, it's got a cutting edge on both sides of the blade. Turn the plate round. Check to make sure that you're cutting perpendicular. Don't assume because you got it right on one side that you're right on all sides. You keep it turning round and looking. Right, that's the second one done. Put that back into our box of tools. Take out the third reamer. Put that into our pin vise. Clamp it down. And once again, back to our bushing hole. Align the pin vise 90 degrees all the way around, and light pressure push in towards the plate. Turn it round. I'll check it from this angle. I'm aligning it with the posts there at the moment. It gives me a pretty good idea that we're going correctly, and around there, and there we go. That's finished. Didn't take too long. It does take a bit longer than if you're using a machine, but not significantly longer. Alright, that's our hole. What we have to do now is line the bushing on the plate, and then we'll put the plate onto our little bench vise so that we can tap the bushing home. There we go. You can see the bushing there, nice and neat. Now we'll set up a bench vise over here and tighten it down, and then we'll put one of our tools, the hollow center in it, into the vise. Align it perpendicular, and then using our light ball peen hammer, you'll notice on the hammer that the head of it is extremely flat, and that is because I've filed that down. These tools are never ready for use. Once you buy them at a store, they have to be set up properly for use, and that is perfectly level. That's been filed flat. So what we do now, we very carefully put the plate on the top of that block so that the bushing sits over the hole. Then very gently tap the bushing into place with one or two sharp taps on the end to level it off. That has to be smooth, and there's the new bushing. Alright, I'll just remove the bench vise. We're now ready for the next part, which is broaching out the hole so that it fits the pivot. We'll do a quick check first before we start to make sure that the pivot doesn't go into the hole, and it doesn't drop into the bushing. Right, we've set our broach in our pin vise. I think that's, yep, we need a smaller one. We've selected a broach, put it into our pin vise to hold it, and then tighten the pin vise down. Now we're ready to start broaching out the bushing. Put the broach into the bushing, and once again align it perpendicular all the way around, and then lightly start to ream out the bushing. 6 or 7 turns first to get it started, and then check the pivot. Not going in yet. Alright. Broach back into the bushing. Turn it round another half dozen times. Check the pivot and it goes in. Alright. And spins freely. Alright. Now we'll do the top plate, which is that hole there. I'll put a little black mark on it. They know which is which. Remove the wheel, little bit of fine steel wool, and I'll remove that little black dot we put on there. Easy as that, and it doesn't upset the lacquer coating that's on the plate. Alright, get that out of the road. A little lever so it doesn't get broken. Alright, start the process again. Zero the vernier. Measure the pivot, 1.40. Jot that down, 1.40. Number 47, bushing, is 1.40, but I have a feeling that may be marginally too big. We'll check it out. Bushing on our hand. Pick up the wheel. Try to insert the pivot. And there it is. That is the correct bushing. You can see that it's not sitting right on the face of the arbor there, so that is the correct size bushing. It looks like it's not because it started to fit in, but in actual fact it is. I'll put that down there.